Happy Sunday and welcome to the Children's Message at Faith Community. I have got my Advent wreath here again, and we're going to continue talking about Advent. If you remember, Advent is the 4 Sundays. There's one candle for each Sunday for the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And then we have the Christ candle in the center, and that will be lit on Christmas. But each Sunday we light a different candle. And Advent is the time when we are waiting and preparing, which means getting ready to celebrate Jesus' birthday on Christmas. If you remember, last week we lit the candle of hope. And we did talk a little bit about hope isn't just wishing, it's also trusting. So when we put our hope in God, we also trust God. Our candle this week is peace. Now, different people have sometimes different ideas of what peace actually means to them. When I was a little girl and it was getting close to Christmas, it sometimes was a little rambunctious and noisy around our house. I was one of 4 children and we were all close in age. And sometimes we weren't really quiet. We might be rather noisy. Sometimes we even argued or got mad at each other or yelled. So there were a lot of times when I'd ask my mom or dad what they'd like for Christmas, and they would say something like, "I would just like one day of peace and quiet around here." Well, I'm sure they would. I'm not sure they got it, but they would have liked that. So peace can mean it's quiet. Peace can also mean nobody's fighting, nobody's mad at each other, there's no wars, there's no arguments. But God has a different peace for us. And it's a peace that He puts in our hearts and in our minds so that no matter what is going on around us, we have peace. Now guess what? I'm going to throw that trust word in there again. Last week, hope also meant trust. Well, the peace we get in our hearts from God is when we trust God. When we know that God will take care of us. Even if we're sad, even if we're scared, even if we're worried about something. When we trust God, we have His peace in His heart. So let's think a little bit about when Jesus was born, way back more than 2,000 years ago. And Joseph and Mary were traveling to Bethlehem. Now, I think it was about 90 miles they had to travel. And Mary was going to have a baby. So it's when ladies get close to the time to have their babies, sometimes it gets a little hard to keep walking. And 90 miles is a very long way. So Joseph was walking and Mary was riding on a donkey, but it took them many days to get to Bethlehem. And I bet there were a lot of things that they would worry about, things they might be afraid of. But they had God's peace in their hearts because they trusted God. They were doing what they knew God wanted them to do. So this week, I want you to remember, God is always with us. And when we trust Him, we know that He's always going to take care of us so we can have His peace in our hearts. Let's say a prayer. Dear God, we thank You for sending Your Son Jesus and for letting us celebrate His birthday every year. We thank You for the hope we have in You, and we thank You for the peace. Let us remember each and every day to trust You, no matter what happens, you are always with us. And we ask this in your Son's name. Amen. So put that trust to work. Show the peace of God that is in your heart to everybody by being kind and sharing God's love. And I will see you next week.